Hey everybody, welcome to episode 7 of the Rad Gamer Dads podcast. It is episode 7. It's been a long time. Long time, yeah. We've had some struggles. Two of us had COVID, not at the same time, so that sucked. I went to the House of Mouse for a week, and there are other people that had vacations in between there, and also transitioning from a new podcast studio. Where we were at before, we were at a school, and now it's summer, and they didn't want us there. He didn't want.
Make it sound like we weren't allowed to be around school.
That's
not the case.
We are allowed.
Yeah, we can go back if you want.
Yeah. There's no red dots where we're supposed to be, so we can go around schools. It's fine. It's just that we wanted to bring more content more frequently to you. We're able to set this up. Hopefully y'all like it. It's in my beautiful man cave downstairs here. We're going to be doing it from here now. And today's episode is all about subscription services. Okay? What we use, what we like, what we don't like, what we like to see in the future, any sort of hot takes.
Andy's hot Takis.
Hot Takis. You know what? That term, I've never actually had a Taki before.
Me neither.
I've never had a Taki. The blue ones actually kind of scare me.
I look at the bag.
Never trust blue food.
Exactly. I look at the bag and I'm immediately out.
Well, and blue raspberry, like, there's not even such a thing. So, like, I don't know why they say blue raspberry. But blue raspberry is normally pretty delicious.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, and for a little bit of context, we were going to talk about our last podcast, too, how long we've been gone. We were going to talk about Pokemon Legends Arceus, right?
It just came out.
Yeah, in January.
Yeah.
We're still playing it, right?
Yep.
We're all playing
we
it.
also had a mixer board that died. So that was the other part.
There's been a lot of things.
Yeah. So we were going to talk about that. We were going to talk about Elden Ring, but people have talked about those to death. Hold on. First of all, before we get into subscription services, what everyone think of Arceus in like 10 seconds? Rob?
I hope that they implement a lot of the mechanics in future installments, but it just got really repetitive and catch 1,000 of these, defeat 1,000 of these. It got pretty repetitious. I mean, I didn't make it very far in the story just because my data got lost and I really didn't want to go back and play it again. But I was impressed with the mechanics and hopefully they continue to build on that for the future.
Yeah. Josh?
It's jaggedy.
He hates it. All right, Luke.
Okay, and moving on. Yeah, I hope
what the fuck?
It was definitely the step in the direction that they needed to make, and hopefully they continue to do that. It does have there's good aspects to it.
There are great elements.
Yeah, but it's still pretty outdated compared to a lot of games.
Yeah.
That are currently happening right now. Like this would have been something that would have been big like 7 years ago, but I don't know.
Honestly,
hard to hold you.
That was like my problem. Like why I thought the game was so bad was the good was so good and the bad was so bad.
Right.
Like, Rob just said that a system that's been used for the last 30 years. When did the first Pokemon Red and Blue
90
come out? 95, 96, something
Yeah,
like that.
Around there,
Yeah.
That structure, that system, just got repetitive to him. Like Arceus somehow pulled it off. That got fucking boring, even though people have been playing literally the same game for 30 years. And so there was just some egregious misses to me. But I really, really, really hope that the good stuff carries on and they're able to elevate that game to what it could be, because there's some awesome bones.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what Violet and Scarlet turn out like. I'm still waiting for more information on that. So.
From what I've seen, it looks like it's going to be the same thing with less interesting mechanics in the battle system, because you don't have that strong agile type thing going on anymore, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
I thought it was different. It looked like when you looked at the menus, it looked like they were going back to the same old type thing, which some people are going to like, And it's really hard to get, and my take, and step in the right direction, but it's really hard to get excited for a Pokemon game when they put these goddamn things out every single year. And now it seems like twice a year, that they're putting out a game.
Yeah.
It's probably hard for the developers to actually be like, all right, let's take this back to the drawing board. Let's build on this. But no, they have to crank these things out yearly. It's like an Assassin's Creed thing. You know, what they used to do.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore.
Which
but
is
what
good,
they used
yeah.
to do, where it's like, same thing, different timeline. Same thing, different timeline.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the same thing, but you know what? They don't care. It prints money. So
I think the biggest thing that Pokemon really needs to move towards is more accessibility with multiplayer and co-op, because that's one thing that they have always struggled on. Like there are features of that in their games, but it's usually like the most bare bones, like, oh, you can trade, or you might be able to battle each other, or you can hang out in this hub. But I think what everyone wants is like a world, like an MMO like type game where like you can run around with your friends and do stuff.
Yeah.
And I've seen that trailer for Violet and Scarlet, and it looks like it's hard to tell. It's a little ambiguous whether or not you can do that with friends, because like there's like, you know, scenes where they're showing where like different players are hanging out together, but will you actually be able to?
Yeah, what's it actually entail? And what's it
well, if they do that on a Nintendo system, that's gonna suck because Nintendo does not know how to do online.
Oh no,
True.
They do not. Okay, and the next
That's
one
a good segue.
before we go into the subscription service, because there was another hot one that
Steamy.
some of us have hot takes on, is Elden Ring. All right, 10 seconds or less. I fucking hate that game. I hate
That's
that
why
game.
he-
I can recognize where there is where it's a great game. It's just not for me. I fucking hate it, and I will not play another From Software game.
Did you break your legs in it? Is that
The
why?
whole
Just like
Rad
Fallout
Gamer fam needs to know that Elden Ring took Andy out for a nice seafood dinner and then never called him back.
It showed me how good it was with the seafood dinner, and then
It gave
And
you
then
food
it
poisoning.
shit on my plate.
yeah, and it gave me food poisoning, and I got all butt sick. Yeah, no, but these guys seem to like it a lot, right?
Yeah, I like playing it with other people. I'm not a big fan of it by myself, just because I get bored with it after a while, especially when you keep dying and getting stuck on a spot. But I mean, I anytime I've ever played it in like co-op mode, I've enjoyed it because
When you can play it in
it's a
co-op with
lot,
somebody.
you know.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We had connection issues, and like their
that was
multiplayer
weird
thing
when
is
that
just
happened.
their multiplayer thing. Come on, really? Can we not be as archaic?
It never
That's
happened
what-
again though. It was
Yeah.
only when you played, but I think
I don't mind the multiplayer.
Probably because I was so down on it.
I don't
Like,
mind the
fucking-
multiplayer because I thought they did a good job of being able to just like throw down the symbol and you can hop right back in. But
Yeah.
it does seem like kind of a silly thing. Like I wish you could just establish like we're having gameplay and then because you're gonna die, right? Like every time you die, you didn't have to like go back and waste that extra couple minutes
Right.
of just like, all right, you put your thing down, I put my thing down. Okay, yep, all right, now we're coming into your game, and it just seems like it takes too long at times.
it's
Yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah, it would be nice to be able to be in a party situation where when you die, like you might have to go through some of the steps, but not go through as
Right.
You should just be able to pop an item and be able to bring it back in instead of
Yeah.
using the item, making the sign, summoning them.
And thank God for modders on PC.
Yep.
That someone already made a mod where they actually made multiplayer how multiplayer should be.
Yeah,
How,
you can
know,
play through the entire game without having to
yeah,
do
and
that.
you could just hop right in. There's none of this sign bullshit.
Yeah.
So I mean, thank you for the modders. Thank you. You're making bad games actually good. Or great games even
Even
better.
a little bit better. There you go. Yeah, you fixed it.
Yeah, fixed
And
it.
thank you guys for being here, even though the universe has tried to destroy the RGD podcast. But as we always say, fuck the universe.
Yep. We just keep we just there's a hole in the ground and we'll fuck that hole. What? The Earth? It's part of the universe,
Oh,
right?
God, Andy's hot takes.
Yeah.
Moving
Maybe hot
on.
topics.
Moving on. Yeah.
We can't make a podcast, so we're just gonna screw the earth.
And
One
you
hole at a time.
can subscribe to that, just like we have subscribed to things like Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus, extra
Essential, Pro, Premium.
They
I don't know. What do you guys use? I use Game Pass.
Yeah, that's all I've got.
PlayStation Extra.
Which tier is that?
That's the middle tier.
That's the middle
Oh,
tier.
okay.
Not the retro games, but you still get the current game collection for
Okay.
PlayStation 4.
All right.
I don't play retro games. So
There's no time to go back at this initial
yeah.
plan,
I obviously I don't know what your answer. I think I kind of understand your answer because I feel the same way. It's really hard for me to go back and play older games from like the PS1, PS2 era sometimes, just because they're so slow and they just run bad.
Yeah.
And a lot of the excitement and the enjoyment of like what I enjoy about modern games, it's hard. It's like trying to play a series of games and you've played the newest one first. Like let's say Final Fantasy VII Remake for some people. I think you said that's the only one you've played, and then trying to go back and play the original one. It's just like it's so hard to do. I mean, it's great that there's people out there that like doing that, but I'm definitely not in that. So it's like with the PlayStation one, I was skimming through it. I was seeing what was all on there. There's a lot of stuff on there that I'd love to go back and play again, but it's like I know I'm not going to, and I've got enough to play as it is, and I don't have the time. So it's like eventually I'll probably upgrade to it maybe, but as of now, Game Pass is doing it for me.
See,
I don't mind retro games as a whole, but the ones that I've gone back to, like Metal Gear Solid 2, surprisingly holds up. Like the gameplay mechanics still work very well. Metal Gear Solid 1 is an awesome game, but you can definitely feel that it's like not.
I could probably play the Twin Snakes, the GameCube one they came out with. I don't think I could play the
GameCube reference.
Rob loves GameCube.
Actually, biggest hot take.
I feel like maybe Twin Snakes did come out on something else eventually.
The other one was Resident Evil 2, and going back and just being like, I've beaten that game more than 20 times, and I couldn't get past the opening sequence because the tank controls were so unfamiliar at this point that it was just like, okay, I'm good. That was nice,
Well, see, with retro games too, I'm going back now. See, most of those you can emulate now, and the emulated ones you can run it at like 2 times resolution or whatever if you've got a good enough thing. And now that turn-based RPGs are not really a thing so much anymore in the modern day. I mean, they're trickling some
strategy.
What's that?
It's a triangle strategy. This game's supposed to be a killer.
Well, that's less turn-based though. That's more like
tactics.
Yeah, like a tactical strategy.
Okay. Well,
I mean, it's still turn-based, but it's
even throwing that one in though. I mean, which is a good game, but I'm saying like there used to be turn-based games coming out all the time. So that's why you get one of these little guys, a Retroid Pocket 2 Plus, and
not sponsored.
not sponsored.
Please make that known.
But it's pretty great. It's I've been playing a lot of that, just kind of during certain downtimes or whatever, or if I'm hanging out with the kids and I'm not down here in the main area and playing like the more modern stuff, and it's good. You can run them at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
And it works really, really well. So
they have made a lot of quality of life improvements. I know that some will include like fast forwarding and rewinding.
Oh, and rewinding, it's got that on there too. Nice. And I mean, like, so it's and we could talk about that stuff later because this is really more about subscription services. But I mean, this thing could even run game.
He's already in the weeds.
Yeah, Game Pass.
He pulled himself out.
This thing can. I actually ran Game Pass on this with cloud streaming.
Really? Wow, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and because it's got Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi 5 or 5G or whatever, something like that, Wi-Fi 5 something. But it's really good. But the screen is really small, so like the font on a lot of stuff is kind of hard to. If it's one of those games that does have like a lot of reading or stuff that you need to read, it's hard to do that. But subscription services, I use Game Pass. I love it. I don't use the PlayStation one just because they're not going to be putting their day one titles on there, and they give a reason why, and I get that. Microsoft has giant gobs of money, They can afford to do, when we talk about sustainability, they can afford to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, they've got the funding.
So, I mean, I'm in it to see what their studios crank out, because the studios that they've acquired are putting out some really good stuff. And, they've got things
potentially good stuff.
So potentially good stuff. Yeah, I mean, other things like...
Andy gets a little hot in the sheets when it comes to new gamer information.
But even stuff like Shredder's Revenge, day one on Game Pass.
Yeah.
That game is awesome, God, God, what there? I mean, there's so many good ones on there that, and even like the back catalog of games that they have from like Xbox 360 or Xbox One or whatever. Some really good stuff on there. I enjoy it a lot, and I can't wait to see what they actually do put out. That's why I think that I'm probably most excited about it.
I don't blame you, and I'm someone who doesn't have any subscription services with any of the consoles right now. Like
You have PlayStation Plus.
Yep, I have the Plus, like
Okay,
the essential one, which is good enough for me, so I can do
Yeah.
co-op. But watching you guys and experiencing Game Pass, like through Andy's system, like when we come over here in game,
Yeah.
like that, there are times where I really consider getting like an Xbox Series S so I can access all those games. Like that's the only reason why I would want that system, so I can play all those games on Game Pass. Like that's a gem. Like if you just want to play all sorts of games and be able to play with other friends, like that's the way to go.
That's something that I think is underrated about the subscription service. One for like our generation, but even more so like if you're a kid hopping in, like the console war has been won the past 2 times by who has created the best community for gaming, right? And Game Pass having something like that and just being like, I can't buy every $70 game that comes out, but this game just dropped on Game Pass, like everybody's gonna hop in.
Yeah.
You guys started playing Turtles right away, and unfortunately that game doesn't have cross play yet.
Yeah.
But you guys were all just kind of like, oh shit, Game Pass. All right, yeah. Like I'm definitely in to try it, even though maybe some of the people might not have paid for it, even though it is very worth the $25.
Yeah, Persona 3, 4, 5 Royal. That's gonna be on Game Pass. Yeah. And so, I mean,
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
I know people love those games. I just couldn't give a shit less.
amongst all the others,
Those are also gonna show up free on PlayStation service, though. I bet.
I think released on everything right now,
They're
including like the
movie,
smart
yeah.
fridge. Yeah, like you just
Yeah.
play
Yeah.
No, they just released that it is going everywhere. It was just on there
I
for
want a
PlayStation.
smartphone
But
subscription.
do we really
Yeah.
think that this is the subscription services are the future of gaming? Like, is that where this is headed? Do you think?
I would say so, with the way that Game Pass and Microsoft are running it. Like
Mhm.
that's a big draw in. Like I said for myself, like if I just wanted to throw a couple $100 out there and I would get a system just for Game Pass, I would have no need for other games. That provides everything I need. Like
That's
it's
essentially
it's
the
that
reason
appealing.
why I got the Series S was
Yeah.
because I've given Andy a lot of crap about the
Everything.
Xbox. And even even still to this day, even though I have one, I'm still very skeptical of what they're doing. They have all these studios, but they're not putting anything out. Like they haven't released a single console exclusive yet this year, and I think they released one all last year.
That's the thing, though. They don't have to until things are right, hopefully, because they're not. That Microsoft has all that money that they're just like, no, you can take your time. It's fine, Like this needs to be good when we put this out.
Yeah,
So,
and that's the thing,
unfortunately,
though.
Halo was. I mean, Halo's fun. Halo Infinite's fun. But it released in a very incomplete state from what it really should have been.
Yeah.
And I think that probably from that,
Mhm.
I think because that's such a huge title for them, and because it came out the way it did and the reception that it did, I think a lot of people they're kind of pumping the brakes a little bit on some things. Like, nah, you can spend maybe a little bit longer. And like developers like Obsidian, which I was hoping for Avowed. I didn't get anything on that, but Obsidian put out another game. What was that? It was like some indie. I don't know the name of
I know
it,
what
but
you're talking about, but I can't.
but yeah, real different art style or whatever. But like they're putting out another game. They can do smaller projects, and guess
Right.
Xbox is like, no, we got you for these too. We want you to put these out when we're waiting for your bigger ones. And I think that's cool. I think that having that, hopefully, from some of the developers they've interviewed, that they said like, we love working under Microsoft because we have so many more resources now, and that's great.
Yeah.
And but I'm also in Rob's boat too, and we're like, yeah, we also got to see something,
Yeah. Well, and that's when you said they don't have to release something. It's like, yeah, you do. Sooner or later, like
Sooner or later,
well,
yes.
yeah, but to release something in an incomplete state, like you said, Halo was.
Mhm.
their whole system's in incomplete state. Because for 2 years, you haven't done shit. You've actually just been really lucky that there is manufacturing issues all over the place. Because if people from the get-go could have gotten their hands on systems like we have in normal release times, fucking 0 people would have bought an Xbox. Because it was like, what am I going to play there?
Yeah, you can't get a PS5 then easily.
And on that same token of like, they do have gobs of money, but businesses don't remain and they don't support things if they don't make money. Like this does have to turn a profit at some point, and that's what I'm a little skeptical of with the way that Game Pass releases their games. To take something that I have no idea how much development dollars went into building Starfield. I know how much it costs to buy the studios. Sooner or later, you have to recoup that cost. Like, they're not going to run something at a loss leader. Like, Microsoft doesn't need that as an install base. They're already on over half of the computers worldwide, right? Like, they are that base. Everybody's almost already in their ecosystem unless they're a strictly Apple or Mac user, right? And so it's like, they want that gaming pie, but the only reason that they want that is they have to see some profitability at some point. And, you know, I'm not sure. I don't know all of their financials, but I'm not sure that a system or a studio can release those massive, you know, tentpole games like a Starfield is hopefully going to be and do that infinitely. Right?
Yeah.
You know, then that was kind of that Sony stance where it's like, hey, we're not going to release our huge games. God of War, it's not showing up there day and date. I don't care what subscription you pay for.
Yeah.
That game, if the quality of those games has a $70 price tag, fine. Those are great games.
See, I don't
other
think
systems might not be able to produce that same thing.
I don't think they're games though. Besides, like maybe Starfield, like I don't think most of them will be like that though.
Redfall?
No, I don't think it'll be like that.
It
looks cool.
You don't think it'll be that expensive?
No, I don't.
What? I would bet like big games cost what, $200 to $300 million? Is that in the range? I feel like
sure.
I have no
I feel
idea.
like some of the larger titles will cost around $200 million, like a movie budget.
Yeah, I can see that.
I feel like something like a Redfall would probably be in the 50 to 100 million range. Then that's a AAA, like class title from a developer that has a great track record. Like you got to pay those guys. You know,
I'd like to see some of those numbers
I
on it
would
actually,
too.
because I don't. And when I want to correct myself when I said like they don't have to release them, I mean, yeah, they have to release something, but I think they have a little bit more luxury of time.
Absolutely.
Because of all the money and the resources and the
moves that they made, right? Like to buy those big studios, nobody thought like, oh, they're gonna buy, you know, Activision Blizzard and tomorrow then the next big game is gonna drop. So
and didn't Obsidian also make
correct.
Grounded? That they didn't.
I think you're right.
Yeah, and they just went like 1.0. It was in beta for like the last year or whatever, or early access, not really beta. But I mean, that's another game that they were making and improving upon, and apparently that's turned out really good. So I mean, they definitely want to be putting out games that are good from the get-go, not like how Halo did. You can't release more Halo Infinites.
More Fables.
Yeah, you need to. No, Fable hasn't released anything like in forever.
Let's talk about another one.
No, there is. They are going to be making one. It's far down the line. It's from the people who make Forza. So they have to figure out how to make a Fable game, you know. So they're like, but then what was it? Guerrilla. Oh God, I hate that guy. No, but
Guerrilla game, even worse. Take all that guy out.
Guerrilla went from
stuff he can't deliver.
first-person shooter to third-person open-world adventure game. You know, like RPG, which Horizon's amazing. I just recently went through that base game. It was fantastic.
Wow. Do you think it's the future? Is a subscription?
I mean. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I definitely don't see it diminishing or dwindling. I'm very curious to see, like, you said with money and they need to make profits and things like that. I'm very curious to see how sustainable it is with that. Like, and the quality of what they put out there. Because, like right now, Microsoft is putting out stuff day one. But when it gets to a certain point, are they going to still be able to continue doing it? Are developers going to? I mean, like, eventually developers are going to look at it like, we could be making more money if we're actually selling this, as opposed, because I'm sure that's how it works, is they say Microsoft gives you $1 million to put this on their streaming service. Right. It's like, okay, well, if a game says $30, like, how many copies of that do you need to sell to hit that mark, and could you have sold more? I don't know.
I feel like they give big games, like, okay, well, not even that, I guess, but they give big games that they get, like, I feel like in the contracts they would give them more money up front. I feel like Game Pass is almost like a place for, like, games that haven't found their footing. Yeah. Like Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy. It's from what I played of it, it's a great game. Yeah,
I heard that game sold pretty well though. I know Square Enix called it a failure, but I think it sold pretty well though.
I mean, not for what they spent on it, for what they have to spend on the Marvel IP, and for what they actually had to develop on it. Yeah. That's why it was a failure, and that's why they're like, we need more money. So.
Well, that story is part of the reason, or I think where I was thinking of those numbers of, like, they said that they lost $200 million over 3 major titles, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, obviously there's some that
probably most of it from Avengers.
I was gonna say, and I think the least of those, and where Rob's saying, like, that game was kind of a success, was like that. I think did the best of them, because it is, from what I've heard, a really great game. But and now being able to access that on subscription services, like, I'll definitely go.
Yeah, but with the sustainability of it though, it's. I mean, coming from myself personally, Ninja Turtles is great. I think it's probably worth the $25. And had it not been Ninja Turtles, if it was something else, let's say, for example, I probably wouldn't have bought it. But having it day one access with Game Pass was nice because I was able to play it. That honestly, I probably will buy it for PlayStation. Mm-hmm. I might wait for it to go on sale for those people, but then again, that's when crossplay comes in. If crossplay comes out for it, I don't need to buy it. Right. I can play with, people that have it. We can play it together because, you have it on PlayStation, we have it on the Xbox. So it's like, there's no need to buy it. So, I mean, I think that having the streaming stuff is nice because it cuts out needing to buy that stuff.
Yeah.
You don't need to buy physical merchandise, which I know a lot of people are kind of iffy. I mean, I think now it's more normal, but I know when it kind of first started coming around, like, people were like, well, you don't own it. You're just essentially renting the license for it. Yeah. Because, I mean, there's games that I own from the 360 days, for example. Like, I can't even access them anymore. Like, I was looking for Turtles in Time. Remember when they did that Turtles in Time remake?
Yeah, remake or remaster.
Like, you can't even download that anymore, even though I technically own it.
Yeah.
Like, I have on my 360, I have it listed on there. I haven't actually looked to see if I can play it through there. But, like, on the Series S, for example, if I look it up on the Microsoft Store, it just doesn't exist, so I can't access it.
Interesting.
It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I know there's a lot. I know there's a few games, obviously that have gone through those issues, but I mean, it's not a super common thing, especially with, like, big name stuff. But I mean, it exists. Like, eventually, it's going to be like, well, we don't have the licensing rights to this anymore, so, well, you just don't own it anymore unless you have it downloaded and saved on a hard drive somewhere. You're out of luck,
And that, I think you guys brought up a good point of, like, those different almost stages of games, right? Like, there's full price titles, then there's the subscription titles, and then there's, like, free to play, right? And it kind of finds that happy medium where a game like, the new Shredder's Revenge game, it feels like a free to play, even though you paid your $15 a month, right? Yeah. Like, you are paying to access it. You have a month. You have a monthly subscription.
But it doesn't feel like a free to play game, though.
No. I'm not.
Free to play games feel like garbage.
No, not gameplay wise.
Oh, okay.
But
okay,
it's like,
gotcha.
It's like, hell yeah, bonus.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
like, I'm definitely paying money for this.
Yeah.
But it gives them then that access to the player base that it truly deserves, because I don't know if that game would have sold in the same numbers that it probably got played. Yeah. And that's it'll be awesome. Oh man, it would be great to see, like, the player base on PlayStation for that game versus the player base on Xbox, because I bet Xbox just drowns it.
Oh yeah,
right?
for sure.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, so who's doing it right? Who's doing it wrong?
Who?
Like, do you feel
I
like
think
there's a right or wrong?
I think it's
Yes.
too early to say right now.
I feel like I can, because Game Pass to me obviously does it right, just from the outside perspective of seeing how successful and how much fun you guys have had with it. PlayStation is trying to find its footing right now, so I think we're gonna have to wait before we can make a
Mhm.
determination. Nintendo Switch online is junk.
Garbage.
Like it almost makes me
Garbage.
angry that they have so many amazing titles over the last 30 years that they could like give to us, and they won't. Like they put out such junk on there.
Yeah,
And
and
see,
they,
Nintendo doesn't care though. They make
they
all sorts
do-
of weird decisions.
they do
do.
such
Yeah,
a
they do what they
weird
want.
thing
They're,
where-
they're the weird kid in the
Nintendo
class who
do
sits
what
in the corner
everyone
and
else
eats
does.
clothes.
yeah, that's well, and they do a strange thing that they're like a subscription service, but then they almost like a la carte you,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
that's the thing that like
that's
I
what made
really
me
like
angry.
about the PlayStation subscription, and I just don't know if Xbox has this, but they probably do. I chose that extra tier
Mhm.
because this one, you know, the top level premium tier included a whole bunch of back catalog stuff. I don't play those that often, but almost all of those games are for sale on a la carte in
Mhm.
the PlayStation Store.
Right.
And since they're older games, a lot of them are like $5.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, okay, now I can get both of those, you know, and do it how I want it. Nintendo like gatekeeps with this like next upcharge and
Right.
next upcharge. It's like, do you want like half of the Nintendo 64 titles? That's going to cost you this much. Then we're going to charge you again for this other. And you're like, fuck you. Like just at least with Game Pass and PlayStation subscription model, you can just pay one fee
Mhm.
Yep. And then
and then you get
all the
all
service available.
of this stuff,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So, I got my Series S probably. I feel like a little under a year ago. It seems like a year. I can't tell time anymore, really. But
It's a
But
blend
I've only
together.
bought one game for my Xbox the entire
Yeah.
time because I couldn't get it on Game Pass, but it came out only on it was something Death's Door. Yeah, Death's Door.
Oh,
yeah.
It's on Game Pass. I thought it was.
I don't know.
Well, they may have put it on it, but it wasn't when I
Sure,
bought
yeah,
it.
after you bought it, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this looks cool, and then it was kind of reminiscent gameplay of Dark Souls. I'm like, fucking garbage. No, it's fun. It's not that hard. I suck at video games,
Well,
but it's cool. It's a cool concept. I really like it. But I just wanted to say, like, yeah, I mean, everything I've ever really wanted to play is gonna come out on Game Pass. Now, do you think that there's gonna be any other places that actually do? And I don't think what Nintendo does. I don't think that's even. That's barely a subscription
I know,
service.
you could
yeah,
barely
they're not
even
really-
include it
Yeah,
as
but
such.
do you think like Amazon or Google Stadia is kind of going down to
Yeah.
but like I mean, do you think like Epic Game Store or Steam would do anything like this?
Oh man, they could.
Well, and when I'm gonna go back a little bit of like who's getting it right, who's getting it wrong.
Yeah, sure.
I'm with Rob that like I think they're both getting it right, but it's too early to tell.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Because you did just say something that was pretty pressing that like man, I've got this and I gladly pay for Game Pass Ultimate and that service is the shit. And I've only bought one game
Mhm.
outside of that title and it's like, ooh, any developers who aren't putting their thing straight onto Game Pass,
You're gonna suffer.
yeah, they might just stop producing things for Microsoft
Mhm.
because they're like, well, I'm not going to be able to sell my title, and maybe we don't know what each of these systems pays the groups that they're working with. Like, is it a lump sum and then percentage per use or play,
Right.
like a Spotify type?
I think
thing,
the contracts
you know.
are definitely different. You know?
I would imagine
Yeah.
so, but
Mhm.
they've been around for such a short time that we don't know like what models really work.
Mhm.
I'm interested to see. I don't know if worried would be the right word, but like to see how subscriber churn works, right? Especially with two, and a lot of people have multiple systems. Well, if PlayStation isn't putting anything out, and I have their subscription model, and I have an Xbox, and I have their subscription model, I might bounce between the two from month to month
Mhm.
because there's no contracts, and just being like, fuck, Xbox didn't put anything out. I'm not gonna pay for that. I'm gonna go play those
Yeah.
games on my
Yep.
Sony. And so will we get a whole bunch of like ebbs and flows in those subscription services, or will people do it like streaming services or like video services where they're like, yeah, I've got Netflix and Amazon Prime and Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people when they announced the delays for Redfall and Starfield that they said, well, Microsoft's not putting anything out worth anything in 2022 from that I know. I'm basically not going to have Game Pass right now.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I need to. And I think you're right though. They'll come back and back and forth.
But that's that consumer behavior, because when I look at the PlayStation service for what I have, right, like that's a catalog of 400 games, and they're good games. There is a ton of great stuff to play on there, just like there is for Game Pass, right? Like all those people just ditched that thing because the big game that they were anticipating isn't coming out, and you're just like, wait, so you ditched this whole rest of this incredible catalog? Like, it's pretty fickle consumer behavior, and I don't know if people will continue to do that, or if that'll kind of...
That's gamers though.
Yeah.
That's gamers though. And when monthly they're getting, it's like Netflix, they take stuff away and they put new stuff out there, but the new stuff that they're putting out there, a lot of it's pretty cool, and you can do that also bonus on your, even when you get Game Pass Ultimate, you get it on your PC, and that actually just came out of beta, I think, technically, and you get the cloud streaming, so it offers a lot of stuff. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, the cloud streaming thing that I've enjoyed is like there's a lot of stuff that I don't want to download and take up space on my hard drive, because it's like my internet's terrible anyway, so it takes forever to download shit. I have to start it like at night when I go to bed, so the next day it's downloaded. But like with the cloud streaming,
56K, bro.
Yeah. I mean, with the cloud streaming, it's been nice. Like some of those like kind of Metroidvania style, retro looking type games. Like it's cool. They have the cloud stream, and I just play it for 10, 15 minutes. If I'm into it, then I'm like, okay, well then I'll download, because again, my internet sucks. So sometimes the cloud streaming is really janky. So it's like, if it's something I actually enjoy playing, I'll just download it. But I think my biggest concern about the way that the streaming thing is going is I don't like the way that Sony's doing it with like the tiers. So I hope Microsoft doesn't find a way to do that as well. Like to be, maybe when they get more of these bigger titles rolling out, to be like, well, if we're going to do this, maybe we should follow Sony's route and charge more so people can access the, like, kind of flip-flop it. Like, we want to give the good stuff, so we want to charge more for the good stuff. Where Sony's like, well, if you want the old shit, then you got to pay more money for the old shit.
That would suck, because right now how it's broken down, I believe that the highest tier of the new PlayStation Plus, it basically equals out to just as much as Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. It's $15 a month. Yeah. So
no, that's the extra tier.
That's the extra tier?
I think it's $19.99 for the top tier.
Ooh, really?
I think. Because I'm pretty sure mine's $15 a month. Maybe.
I think yours is like 12 or 13. They had some weird price in the middle, because it was like 10, and then it was like 12 or 13, and then it was like 15. Because I remember looking at it, and I'm like, that middle one was some sort of a weird, I was like, $13? Oh, that's kind of weird.
When I updated mine, they did that thing where it was like I had a bunch of stacked subscriptions.
Sure.
To have this like through 2025 or whatever, it's like $100. And I was like, yeah, all right, that's
someone correct us in the comments and tell me how wrong I am. But like I'm pretty sure like there was
we love to do it.
yeah. I'm pretty sure it was like that. But I guess to move along, do you see other people doing this? I guess do you see like a Steam or an Epic Game Store? I mean, I kind of find it hard to think that they would, but like, I mean, Epic does give out free games monthly,
I think if you're playing through PC and you have access through a Game Pass through PC, I don't think you would need it. And I mean, granted, I know like Steam and Epic, they have different stuff that other people don't, especially a lot of the indie stuff, but it's like, I don't know. I mean, I think if you have a PC that would run stuff anyway, I think you more than likely already have maybe Game Pass.
I think, and they both have like a ton of money, both Epic and Valve. So, I mean, in terms of doing something like that, they probably could. But I feel like you'd only almost have to make it more like, hey, these are just things that are coming out like on. I'd like to see them do it for like indie games.
And I
Like
think their
indies,
I think their
like,
catalog.
that would be cool.
Yeah.
I think their catalogs too on those are just way too deep. I just think it'd be so hard to wade through all that content.
There's
To
a
be,
lot of
Yeah, you're
porn
right. There's
games.
to be like, what's on
A
here,
lot of
what's
porn
not
games.
here.
There's just a
You
tier
know.
for hentai, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
exactly. So
Yeah,
it's
right.
like I think it's easier for them to just be like, you know what, $1.99 for this game,
Right.
and people buy it up, and I don't.
I'm gonna go devil's advocate on this one. Of like, the crossover that I see, you see Xbox with their PC component, right?
Mhm,
You can use your Game Pass on PC, which is awesome, right? Because
Yeah.
now it's like you can play anything anywhere.
It's huge.
Which a guy we play 14 with. I mean, that's how we've been playing with him. Is because
PlayStation
PC.
PlayStation is starting to do that. Their older, huge games they're
Mhm.
releasing onto PC, things like Horizon, God of War 2018. I could see the PC ecosystem doing things with like Steam Deck so that they can gather an additional audience of the console gamer. And so I could see Valve teaming up with Steam, or they own Steam, don't they? Is Valve?
Yeah,
is
yeah,
Valve-
Valve owns
yeah,
Steam,
yeah,
yeah,
it's one of
yeah.
the same,
I
yeah.
could see them coming up with their own tier, because then they'd be like, yeah, all these people are gonna get this sweet indie deep catalog. There's a ton of exclusives on Steam that you can't get in console, but now the Steam Deck for a console gamer like me is a cool thing. Like,
Right.
I have one on pre-order, and everybody's like, it's a behemoth. I'm like, I don't ever plan on playing it handheld. If I get one, I'm just going to plug it into my TV because I just want access to PC games, but I don't want all the fuckery of having to mess with my PC, and I want to game in my gaming room where I have my comfortable seating, and
Right.
just like I do on my PlayStation. So I could
Naked
see
racing
that.
rig.
I appreciate
Naked
that it's
racing
actually
rig.
a little bit bigger, though, to be honest with you, because for certain games that require like a lot of movements, like all over the place, and like using the shoulder buttons a lot, something like that the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus, it's just really hard on the hands, especially like using those tiny ass Joy-Cons,
Right.
Yep.
for that. So even if it is, a big handheld, that's better. And I don't have big hands. Look, I got. Show here. Come here. Come here. Hold on. Holy shit!
The Steam
You got
the Steam
sausages
Deck
on those
is the
hands.
only
I do.
time
I do.
where
Oh
you
my
want
god!
like an inch or two less.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you guys, we went through a lot here today. Episode 7. I really hope you dig this setup here. We're gonna be doing this on the way forward. We've got
back,
some.
baby.
We're back. We've got a ton of not ton. We got a couple events coming up here too, local events. If you're here, we got one at Bustin' Axe at the end of July. End of August, middle-ish of August, we got our Back Pocket event, and then we've got our 24-hour stream mid-November that we're going to be doing. So, yeah. Hit up our Discord, hit up our Facebook, Facebook for all the event times and things like that. A lot of cool stuff coming our way here. Hopefully COVID doesn't knock one of us out again.
Yeah.
I think it's my turn because I think all
Yeah.
three of you have
I haven't
dealt
had
with
it.
that. No?
I'm the only one that hasn't had it.
Oh, your family?
Oh.
Okay.
Out of us 4, because
Okay.
you had it. Now these two
I
knuckleheads
did
have
this
had it.
year.
No, I'm just saying in
in
you
general.
have
you've
had it.
never had it?
Nope.
Dodging.
Oh.
I don't know how I managed it.
Oh, it's
three,
building up then, man.
three of the
Yeah.
5 in
Yeah.
our household got it, but
COVID be
me and
damned.
Callie
We
did.
will be seeing you. And I'll see you on episode 8.
Peace.